Tony Windsor agrees with you to an extent. He thinks that they got their strategy wrong. Here's Tony Windsor.
I think they've put the cart before the horse a bit here. They've sort of given the conclusion without a number, without a target, without a price. If they'd gone directly to an emissions trading scheme, they wouldn't have had the argument about lying about a carbon tax.
Now, who advised the government that it'd be a good idea to announce a carbon tax with no details?
Well, it's a perfectly valid way to approach a development of an important policy like this.
Well, they probably appreciate now that it wasn't, so surely they now have to quickly start making announcements.
Well, Julia Gillard has returned today to some disquiet amongst some of her most senior ministers on a number of fronts. One is whose idea was this, because it wasn't discussed widely within Cabinet. Secondly, what's this business of elevating Bob Brown and Christine Milne, making them essentially partners in government? That press conference a couple of weeks ago, it was the sort of press conference you have once you've achieved something, not when you're setting out to do something and you've got nothing to back up. It was extraordinary, and it was offensive to a lot of Labor people, including ministers. And the third one, a relatively minor one, is Christine Milne, who's been going around as if she was some sort of a member of Cabinet, claiming credit, being a certain amount of triumphalism on her part, which is also annoying senior ministers. And the Prime Minister is going to have to deal with that. Yeah, because Bob Brown, it seems, is at least interested in outcomes, whereas Christine Milne, when the decision on carbon was taken, she was taking credit for it and saying this is a result of the pressure they were putting on the pulp mill. When that was announced, she said, well, this is probably the government trying to build a bit of distance between us and them. To draw on the politics every time something like this is taken, it makes it so much more difficult for the government, surely, to meet them halfway on these issues.
Julia Gillard's problems did start with that press conference. I mean, the atmospherics were bad in the Prime Minister's courtyard, flanked by the Independents and the Greens, and announcing something that actually wasn't ready to be announced.
But it's more than the selling, Kerry-Ann. Look, the problem, I think, goes even one step before that. I think you're right, but it goes before that. She should never have taken up again an emissions trading scheme that she had persuaded Kevin Rudd to drop a year ago, because it was poison then and it is poison now. I find it just so incompetent that, having drawn the right lesson last year, she then puts herself in precisely the position that Kevin Rudd was in.
But what if she'd taken the Tony Windsor approach and gone straight to an emissions trading scheme? As he said, that would have removed so many of the negatives that are out there now. That is the broken promise and the scare campaign on a tax.
So why didn't she? I mean, I guess the thing is that they had to move on something. They'd promised that they would move during the election campaign. They were under pressure they are under pressure and will continue to be under pressure from the Greens, so they had to do something.
It's not just the selling campaign.
No,
People
it's not
say it's the selling campaign.
it's
the product stinks as well. It's an incompetent selling campaign. You're perfectly right. But the product stinks. Well, and while Labor thinks that they can win an election by promising a new tax in whatever form, whether it's emissions trading or a direct tax, it's cactus. It won't work. I mean, no one has asked the fundamental question, right, we've got this wonderful tax, A, the price, B, how much will it lower world temperatures by? Because that's the ultimate objective. And you know how much it will lower the world's temperature by? Almost zero. Or probably zero. And when people are increasingly realising that all this pain comes at no gain.
But it is too early to be asking how much does it cost until you put a price on carbon.
No, wrong. Because you say your objective is to cut emissions by 5% by 2020. Yes. That does have a price, and that must have an objective. If you do that, how much will world temperatures go by?
But until you've sorted out precisely what your strategy is going to do, you can't put a price on it. No. It's like saying I'm going to develop a new model car, and until I know what it is and what I'm putting into it, then you can't put a price on it.
You do know the price, or you do know the price of cutting emissions by 5% roughly, and you should know, even more specifically, how much world temperatures will go down by. And you know how much it will be?
Are they talking below
0.0001
And Andrew, the question that always comes back when that question is asked is, what's the price of doing nothing? Have you calculated that? Now, from your point of view, none, right?
No, but even, that's just an inversion of exactly what I've just said. And the answer still is, if you spend these billions, you will achieve nothing in lowering the world's temperatures. And when people realise that, they'll be even more angry.